we continued to ask the question, how do we know when we're living in a state of Satchitananda, or existence, knowledge and bliss? How do we know, like when the water, the yeast and the flour combine, that the three levels of life have merged to bring us to an integrated state of awareness? Now perhaps over these last weeks and months we've been able to establish several indicators of this. One is that we're, for the most part, always present. There's nowhere else for us to be but here and now. And secondly, that there's an absence of dialogue in our head. We're not saying, what if I do this, this may happen, the buts and the doubts are absent. And also that now we don't react. We respond, but it's not like cause and effect. We don't react with, how could you do that to me? What about me? All of those things that come up when we have some experience come into our life. But what other indicators could there be? We need to explore this. Now, Mulla was on a pilgrimage, and he was walking down a certain road one day when he met a monk coming the other way, and they exchanged greetings. And because it was high noon and the sun was hot, they decided to sit under a tree to rest. And when they did, they got into some spiritual talk. And after a while, the monk said to Mulla, you know, I'm so selfless that I only think of others. I never think of myself. Oh, said Mulla Nasruddin, I too am selfless, but I'm so selfless that I am everyone else, so I can afford to think of myself. And then there was a merchant. He had a little store. It was like a little bit of an apothecary's, with jars and bottles of goods lining the shelves. He was called Akbar Ali. Now Akbar Ali went to the market one day and he found a most beautiful parrot. Oh, the colors of this parrot were so beautiful that he couldn't resist buying the parrot. And he took it back to his shop and he made a little stand for it just inside the door of his shop. But not only was this parrot beautiful, Akbar Ali found that he could talk. And not only could he talk, but he could get into conversation. So he called the bird Sweet Mouth. Well, Sweet Mouth became quite a feature. People would come and engage Sweet Mouth in conversation and expound how beautiful his colors were. And of course, just as a courtesy, they would buy something from the shop too. So Akbar Ali's business boomed. And Akbar Ali himself used to enjoy getting into conversation with Sweet Mouth. He would pass time talking to him. But then it came to such a level of trust between them that when Akbar Ali went home and shut the shop, he would leave Sweet Mouth fly free. But one morning, Akbar Ali came back to the shop and every bottle in the place was smashed on the floor. Sweetmouth had flown around the shop in the night and shattered every bit of merchandise he had. So Akbar Ali was so angry, he got Sweetmouth by the neck and he shook him and he banged his head on the floor until all his feathers fell out and he was almost dead. Well, Akbar Ali got over his anger and started to put his shop back in order. But from that moment on, Sweetmouth did not speak. Devoid of feathers, he sat forlornly on his stand inside the door of the shop, and he said not a word. Well, of course, a consequence of this was the shop was put back in order, but there was not so many customers as before because many people came just to engage Sweetmouth and bought something as a courtesy. Well, Akbar Ali tried everything. He bought him all the best kinds of food. He begged him and begged him. He even bought a female parrot to come along and see that if that would bring him out of his state, but nothing worked. But in the meantime, Akbar Ali changed somewhat. He started to be more attentive to people's needs. He listened to them more when they came into his store. He even gave alms to people. And after a while, he gave up trying to make Sweetmouth talk. He just reconciled himself to the fact that his beating of him had caused him to become mute. But then one day it so happened that a wandering dervish came by, and he was completely bald. So when Sweetmouth caught sight of the bald dervish, he said in a squeaky voice, "Oh, did you break some bottles like I did?" So Akbar Ali was so amazed to hear Sweetmouth talk, he invited the dervish into the shop. And the dervish faced Sweetmouth and he said, "You know, I might appear to be a mirror to you, but that does not mean that we are the same." And then the dervish began to expound a truth. And Akbar Ali was standing there listening attentively to what the dervish said. But after his little dialogue, the dervish left. But Akbar Ali realized that he had heard a profound truth. And he rushed out of the shop to thank the dervish. But the dervish was nowhere to be seen. And when Akbar Ali inquired of his neighbors in the neighboring stores, no one had seen a dervish in the vicinity. So the question that arises from this, without telling the complete story, is what was it that the dervish said to Sweetmouth in the hearing of Akbar Ali? What is it about this state of integrated awareness called Satchit Ananda? What else does it bring besides presence? An absence of dialogue, an absence of reaction. What is it that's there in your life now? What is it that the dervish said to Sweet Mouth? Could it be that we no longer look out at life as a mirror and see a reflection? But what else is there that comes with this disappearance of the mirror? Like that question that's been asked, what's your relationship with life now? But it could be added, what's your relationship with life now that there is no longer the mirror?
There's no action or reaction.
No action or reaction. No, exactly. No longer reaction, but no longer action. While there's a mirror, there's always going to be perception for the mind. What happens when there's no mirror for us? What happens to perceptions?
There's no more reflection.
No more reflection.
This is sort of a grace that opens up, that allows for the listening.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely so. So how would you sum up? Bring it back to this story. What would the dervish say to Sweet Mouth?
There's no feathers left to be ruffled.
Right on. Ponder on this a while in the moments of life and recognize those things that give us confirmation that indeed we're in that integrated state of awareness called Satchitananda, or existence, knowledge and bliss. Thank you. Thank you.